this question is for you. What is the role of women in leadership? And they give the example of pastor, elder, deacon. What is the Reformed view?
I would say not just the Reformed view, but the Bible's view is that the function of the eldership, not just the title or the status, but the function of the eldership for teaching and ruling in the church is reserved not just for men, but for qualified men. And there's a difference. They're fine, godly men that do not bear the qualities for the office of the eldership. And that the Apostle Paul is crystal clear about that. He speaks to it on more than one occasion, and he speaks to it in a cross-cultural context. It would be very easy to say, well, Paul was just drawing on his Jewish experience, but it is when he's writing to Timothy in a cross-cultural setting, in a setting in Greco-Roman culture where if there was ever an opportunity to make a break from something that was culturally relative in the function of the church, that was it. And it's in that context that Paul says, I do not permit a woman to teach. And so with regard to the leadership of the church, God has called qualified men to serve in the elder capacity in the local church. Now, good Christians differ on the involvement of women in diaconal ministry in the church. And there is, of course, a significant role for women in the mentoring of women in the congregation, in the mentoring of the young people of the congregation, and in working alongside of the deacons. Whatever you think of the diaconal issues in 1 Timothy 3, it's clear in 1 Timothy 5 that there are godly women working alongside the deacons in the mercy ministry of the church. And, of course, there are also appropriate places and ways that a godly Christian woman can come along and be a tremendous encouragement even to a Christian minister, such as the case with Priscilla and Aquila and Apollos, where they were able to take him aside in such a way that did not demean the office of the church or the role relationships that God has established in the home and in the church. And Priscilla was able to be a blessing to Apollos. There was a quote on some website just in the last couple of nights by Johnny Erickson Tata. And I have gone back to that more times than one. Ken quoted a remark from Johnny that clearly had worked its way deep into his heart, and yet there would be no one more honoring of the teaching office of the church and of the male leadership in the teaching office of the church than Johnny Erickson Tata. And so what you will find is, I think when you look across the church, you show me a woman who's godly, intelligent, consecrated, committed to the ministry of the church. She is not interested in taking that office of the church. She's interested in exercising the gifts that God has given to her, in fulfilling the role that God has given to her, and supporting the godly activity of men in the church as much as possible. The fact of the matter is, if men figure out that women will do a job for them, they will let them. And so, women, if you want to have a congregation full of little boys for you to take care of, you go ahead and take leadership in these areas. But if you want to have men who will do their jobs, who will take their responsibilities, who will shepherd your souls, who will rise up and call you blessed, you don't just allow them to fulfill those God-given roles. You exalt in their fulfilling those God-given roles.